Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be draping a shirt on my dress form. I kind of want to get started on trying to figure out what I want for my wedding dress, so I thought this would be a great way to start. I'm just draping some fabric here, as you can see, and then we're going to be marking out where we want the pieces to be cut. Now this form is a little too big for me, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do about that. I might have to just make the pieces a little bit smaller so it actually fits me and it isn't too big for me. Alright, so I pinned it in place where I want it to be, and now I'm just going to mark where I want the neckline to be and where I want that center line to be, and then all the pieces I'm just going to mark out as well. Marking the strap. I'm just going to be cutting it so I can have more flexibility here, and just cutting off the excess of it as well. Making sure it's pinned nicely and laying flat, and then just marking all those spots we want. So I kind of went back and looked at it and made sure it was marked in the right spots, and then just adjusted certain things and made sure I liked it. And I only brought it to the center part. You only really need to do one side, and then just make sure you double each piece, because your body is usually pretty symmetrical, but it depends on who you are, I guess. And here I'm just cutting out the pieces a little bit closer to the lines. Once I take it off, then I'm going to cut it right on the blue lines and stuff, so don't worry about cutting too close to them. And I just wanted to see how that looked. I would suggest making the straps, cutting the whole thing out. As you can see there at the top, it's not fully there, so that made it a little more difficult for myself later on. So this is it all laid out. I still need to cut it a little bit, but those pieces would all be sewn together, and then would make the top. Here it is all laid out. I'm gonna take those blue lines and just cut them right on the lines, just so that it's all even and looking nice. And then if there's any crooked or weird looking lines, I'm just going to make sure they're smooth and nice looking. Alright, now here I'm just pinning them all together, and I'm just gonna sew them together to make sure that they look good and they fit me well. I seam ripped it so I could cut it onto this white fabric for the lining. I cut each piece twice, and then cut it again, twice again, on another fabric for the front piece. Then I sewed each part separately, and then I sewed it together. This is what it looks like with the front part sewn together, and then both those pieces sewn together. Then I did some boning and then some grommets here for the ribbon. The boning, what I did, I just sewed 2 channels down it and then stuck a zip tie down the middle. And the straps, I ended up adding some fabric to sew those together. And I found this beautiful green ribbon to use for the corset part. And then I found some nice lace ribbon here, and I'm just going to sew that on with the bias tape as well. So this is the finished top. I'm pretty happy with it. As you can see here, it's a little bulky at this part, so I would suggest adding the straps to it originally and just doing the one fabric that goes all the way and meets at the top here, not this extra piece that I added, because it ended up being really bulky and kind of hard to sew. And I did some lace at the bottom and some boning. I was going to do boning on these parts, but I only did them on the back here. I can't really feel it, but I used zip ties to use it for boning, and just stuck it in through the channels. And then I did the lace, which you saw in the last shot, and I made this skirt. I actually made this for Easter, and I'm pretty happy with it. But as you can see, the skirt is just a little loose, so it ended up falling down. You can see the shirt underneath it, or you put it up and then you can't see the lace. So I'm a little bit annoyed about that. And then when I was sewing the lining to the front, actually I think it was when I was doing the channel, this little wrinkle came into place. So yeah, I was sewing these down. I just put my foot on the seam line on both sides, then it was a half an inch apart. And then that's how I could put the zip tie in. But yeah, it ended up buckling a little bit, so just be careful of that and aware. And then when I did the ribbon, I ended up cutting it half this size, but it ended up being too short, so I had to sew 2 pieces together, and it ended up popping on me, so I just had to reinforce that. Don't just sew it once. Sew it, and then fold it, sew it again, so then it's really reinforced and it's not going to pop on you. And if I want to do a zipper here, I would have to just add an inch or so to each side so that I could fit the zipper, because yeah, those are not going to be touching. That would be very tight. But yeah, for the most part, I'm really happy with it. It fits pretty well. I think it would be just a really nice base for a wedding dress, and maybe I'd add some other textures to it. And I also made the skirt. So I made this for Easter, so I made it quickly. So I just used some scrap fabric that I had laying around, so you can see there's some stains on this part. And I just sewed the lace and the lining together, and then did a waistband, sewed it over, and then put an elastic through it. And yeah, that's it. I'm pretty happy with it. Thank you so much for watching.